You entrusted your loved one's care to a nursing home, expecting compassion and quality treatment. Instead, they suffered from neglect, abuse, bed sores, falls, or medication errors that could have been prevented. I'm Chris Brown from Geiger Legal Group. Our elderly deserve dignity and proper care, not negligence that causes pain and suffering. When nursing homes fail in their duty of care, we fight to hold them accountable. Your loved one's suffering matters. We'll stand up for those who can't stand up for themselves.
Call Geiger Legal Group at 833-HELP-GLG and let us tell your story today.
You snoozed twice this morning, spilled your coffee once, and you've already blamed last night's referee for your morning mood.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
It's time to embrace the chaos and step into the madness.
Bro, you about to see a side of me you didn't even know existed.
Featuring guests who are over-caffeinated and less reasonable than the average person.
Man, I think it's just ridiculous.
Come on, man. Are you serious? Ugh.
Fans, where else would you rather be than right here, right now? Welcome to the show.
So buckle up. It's time for hot takes and hot mics. This is the Morning Rant, where the only thing more unpredictable is Dave before his third cup of coffee.
I just felt like running.
On WPGY, the Sports Pig.
And a good Friday morning to you right here on the Morning Rant. Dave Garner with you till 12 o'clock today. Again, for those of you that joined us on Wednesday, we were at the pub in Ellijay, and a little bit of an unexpected. We'll kind of explain it here a little bit more in a moment. But we are back on location today in Ellijay, just down the street from where we were at a couple of days ago. We're here at Ronnie Thompson Ford in Ellijay, enjoying an absolute gorgeous Friday, and I would call it the happy hour because that's usually what we name our Friday show, is the happy hour edition of the Morning Rant. We're still going to do that, but today it's the happy hours. Again, we are going 10 to 12 again on location today, and I am here with my man Big John Davis in person here at Ronnie Thompson Ford. And again, this is kind of we're kind of branding this as the hometown tour, if you will, because we are back in Big John's stomping grounds this morning right here on a gorgeous morning in Ellijay in the North Georgia mountains. Thank you guys for being with us. Once again, we'll be with you till 12 o'clock today, so come on by, say hello to Big John, meet Big John and myself, and again, we'll do our best to try to talk to you right here as we are on the air for the next 2 hours, chopping it up in the world of sports. We appreciate you guys being with us. Thank you to Aaron Childers, our producer, back in the studio again, back at our Carriage Kia studios here today. We appreciate him, of course, pushing the buttons and keeping us on the air. But Big John, man, how you doing? How's it feel to be back here in your town?
Always great to come back home, Dave. Riding up this morning from Atlanta, just you reminisce and you just things pop into your mind and everything. I spoke with the Rainies last night, and unfortunately they're not here today. But no, it's always great to come back home. I'll hopefully be able to stop by Penland's Apple House on the way back and see Lebo and get some fruit and vegetables. But no, it's always great to get up to Ellijay whenever you can.
Absolutely, yeah, it's a gorgeous day as we talked about. I mean, temperatures are I guess right in the 60s right now. It's actually a little cooler when we got here a little while ago to kind of set things up. Right now we're showing right at 59. So again, we're hovering around that 60-degree mark here today. But John's still in short sleeves. I've got a thin pullover right now. Maybe we'll shed it later. We are under the entrance here just outside the front door of Ronnie Thompson Ford in Ellijay. It's funny because later in the show we'll try to get Heath in here, Heath Thompson, of course, El Presidente, if you will, I guess, of Ronnie Thompson Ford, and of course Chad Jones, who's the general sales manager here. They have a very friendly Gilmer versus Pickens rivalry between those two. Chad, again, is from Pickens County. His kids, of course, going up through that system. Heath, of course, with his daughter Kinley coming through the Gilmer system, playing golf and doing all that sort of stuff, and grew up, of course, in Ellijay. His father, of course, the late Ronnie Thompson, the namesake of the dealership, was always very much involved in local athletics around town. And so we're going to try to have those guys on maybe a little bit later here in these next couple hours. But an interesting situation, an overnight development here at Ronnie Thompson Ford. Apparently, someone came over Kusawati Drive here and plowed through one of their street signs, one of their big, metal signs at about 4 a.m. this morning, apparently. So Heath is actually sitting right now on a forklift, and they're trying to clear the debris and try to get this sign maybe put back into place. So we're watching it right now from our vantage point. For those of you that are watching on YouTube, again, you can see that we're looking at something. That's what we're looking at. We're watching these guys over here with the forklift trying to get the sign back in place. But
not only does he sell cars, but he fixes signs as well. It's amazing.
Exactly.
Yeah, I imagine they have cameras, so it's going to be interesting to see if they find out who did that last night. But you mentioned the Gilmer-Pickens rivalry friendly. I was kind of thinking that's a little bit of an oxymoron, isn't it? Because I've never heard of anybody say there's a friendly rivalry between.
Right, yeah.
I remember back in the day, not that I partook in it, but after football games against Pickens, I had heard that there was people from each school that would meet at the county line on Highway 5 and kind of talk about the game, and of course some other shenanigans would start up. I won't say any names, but I know I went to school with a few of them that went down there, and sometimes they came back on the right side up, and sometimes they didn't. So, it just depends.
Well, you're definitely playing the part here today, man. Dressed the part, of course, with the Gilmer football shirt on here today. And, of course, we're going to talk a little bit about high school sports because we've got some big news. Speaking of, Gilmer-Pickens and some of the areas there, we also have some news involving a former student athlete from Gilmer County as far as their college choice. You might remember Wednesday we were joined live on the program in the second hour of our broadcast by Patrick McVeigh, whose son Jackson, of course, was at the University of Georgia as a freshman basketball player, scholarship basketball player, entered the portal. And it does look like the decision has been made, and we don't want to ruin that yet, so we'll wait and see if Patrick shows up here. We are expected to have a couple of guests with us throughout the next 2 hours, so we will kind of shuffle them in as they show up. But a lot of things to talk about over the next 2 hours. Of course, we're going to go down memory lane. I know we do that on Wednesday, but we're here with Big John. We're back in his hometown, Ellijay and East Ellijay, Gilmer County. So we're definitely going to share some stories and talk about a lot of different things here over the next couple hours. We're going to kind of talk about the weekend, the Atlanta Braves getting set for a big 3-game series at the Dodgers. It's always, even though those two are not in the same division, I grew up in the 80s with the Braves being in the same division as the Dodgers and the Padres, being in that NL West, which obviously geographically made absolute no sense at all. There's some talk right now in the MLB about realignment and teams switching leagues, possibly adding in with some expansion. The rumor is maybe Charlotte perhaps getting a team or a Nashville. So the league may look a little different over the next couple of years.
Well, and you also remember football did the same thing. You remember when the Falcons were
in the
NFC West with the
49ers,
the Rams, and obviously the Saints. So I think realignment needs to come into play because it's look, it's 162 games, and they're in the West Coast swing right now, or one of them. I mean, it's not as long as they'll probably have during the rest of the season, but keep the travel as minimal as you can. It does take it wear and tears on your body. And even though we're only a fifth of the way through the season, it's still, as well as I do, that 3-hour time difference. And I hated it for football as well. I always, I was a creature of habit. I wanted to play at 1 o'clock on Sunday every day. Yeah. And whenever you had to go out west, it was like, well, when I played for Houston, we played at noon. Yeah. But whenever you went out west, it was, you did the 4 o'clock game, but it was 1 o'clock, 4 o'clock at home, and your body's just all screwed up. So I can imagine when you're out there, and right when you get acclimated out west for the baseball players, they come right back home. So now it screws them up because now the time the body has to adjust again. So it's and look, they make a lot of money, and I understand that, and they have the trainers and they have the chefs and all of that, but still it does have an effect on your body.
Well, you're still human, right?
Exactly.
And let me ask you this, because you bring up a good point, and again, because you're so good at just kind of answering things off the cuff. There's a lot of people that say, well, it's hard for those West Coast teams to play a 1 o'clock start on the East Coast. It's so much harder for the West Coast teams to travel more so than it is for the East Coast teams going west. I mean, is that true? What was your experience? Because I know you played on the East Coast, primarily, but
Marv did a study. He looked into it with the trainer and the weight coach and everybody. And so what he tried to figure out is, do we take him out on Friday and give him that extra day to acclimate, or do we take him as late as we can on Saturday to get us there to where really it doesn't affect us at all? Right. And from what I remember, we always went on Saturday. He never believed in, because Marv was the same way, and Marv hated it too. He was a Sunday at 1 o'clock guy as well. But I think he finally came to the realization of, let's just get him out there as late as we can. Let's get him dinner. We'll do our team meeting, get him to bed, and it'll be as disruptive or not as disruptive as it would be if you were out there for a day or two. Because, hey, listen, if you go out a day or two early, there's always some knucklehead on the team that's going to, find some trouble somewhere, right. And it's inevitable. But I don't know, because never being on a team in the West Coast and having to come east, I never really thought about it that much, and we didn't really. I mean, honestly, I don't think I played on the West Coast but maybe 2 or 3 times during my whole career.
Now,
when I was with Houston, it's a little bit different because it's a 2-hour time change instead of a 3-hour. But, it was I just know that Marv just wanted it to be as simple and as easy as possible.
And basically that's what you want. You don't want to try to take folks out of their typical routines any more than you have to, but sometimes it's necessary. I feel bad for, think about the University of Hawaii.
Yeah.
I mean, every time they're getting on a plane, they're having to fly, hours and hours to get back to the mainland.
Right.
That can't be easy for some of those types of teams.
No,
and schools.
And a big disadvantage. And but they're filled in the program, so they're trying to make it work and trying to I don't think they're in the Pac-10, or they might be in the Mountain West.
I think they're in the Mountain West now,
And so they've got 6 or 7 games in the U.S. that they've got to come over to. So, again, not making excuses, but those guys are a little bit younger than as a professional. When you get a little bit older and you get a little bit more set in your ways,
right?
I'm trying to make excuses, but I'm not sounding very good about it.
not being very convincing here. Hey, we are live here at Ronnie Thompson Ford in Ellijay. Come by and see us. We'll be here till 12 o'clock today. Over the next 2 hours, we are going to talk a little bit about the NBA and NHL playoffs. Again, some more games, of course, going on last night. The Atlanta Braves as well, opening up the set against the Dodgers. We're going to dive into that a little bit. We're going to bring up some other local things going on, too, including high school sports, the baseball playoffs, a couple of our area teams into the Final Four. So we're going to talk about that coming up later in the show as we approach our first break right here. But we were talking yesterday about the Braves, and a couple things real quick. One, you did text me I put the question out there to everybody, and I want to remind folks that even though we're on location today, our Jasper Coca-Cola text line is open, 888-0744. Again, that's 866-888-0744. Feel free to text us a question, interact with us on our Jasper Coca-Cola text line. But I put it out there on the text line yesterday. I said, hey, name the most random former Atlanta Braves player or current player, but name just the most random player you can think of. And we had a couple different ones, but you had a great one. I-285, Pascual Perez, one of the most popular Atlanta Braves of all of the 1980s, and that was a great one.
Warren and I talk about that story all the time. It's he gets on. I can't do the voice and stuff, but he gets on 285. He does not know where the hell to get off. He cannot find the exit.
He's
to get
driving
off.
In circles.
He's just driving in circles, and then finally he misses the whole game. And it's just like, hey, where were you? He says, I don't know. I was on this road 285, and I just could never get off the road.
Yeah.
I didn't know where to go because I think he had just flown in or just come in like a day or two before he was supposed to pitch, and so there he is on 285 just going in circles.
Probably bought his first car, didn't have a ride to the game, and was like, I'll drive myself today. And just
no Ubers back then.
No Ubers, no GPS back then or anything to get you to Atlanta Fulton County Stadium. So again, I-285. And what's so funny is I remember this very vividly as a kid. Jokingly, his warm-up jacket when he came out, they had I-285 across the back of it where everybody else had their name.
Awesome.
His had I-285. Hey, we're up against our first break. We're going to continue the discussion in a moment, including, speaking of the Braves, a little bit of Ted Turner talk again. Pioneer Ted Turner passing away a couple of days ago. We're going to revisit that and talk a lot more about other things going on in the world of sports right here live at Ronnie Thompson Ford in Ellijay as part of our Friday Happy Hour edition of the Morning Rant. Again, Monday through Friday throughout the week right here. We're going to talk about some other big events coming up next week right here for the program as well. So stay with us. Again, we are the home of ESPN Radio in North Georgia on the Sports Pig app and online at sportspigradio.com.
Welcome to your hometown pub. Open 7 days a week, the pub in Ellijay is your happy hour hangout. They offer a variety of dishes to satisfy every palate, and their friendly staff is here to ensure a wonderful time. Join them for daily happy hour specials Monday through Thursday. And don't forget, every Wednesday is Wing Wednesday with $1 wings all day long. Located at 941 Maddox Drive in East Ellijay. Open Sunday through Wednesday till midnight, Thursday through Saturday till 2 a.m. The pub in Ellijay, where every visit feels like home.
Grand Slam!
98.1 and 93.7 The Sports Pig, the official home for the Atlanta Braves baseball. Big opinions of the big games from the big mouths.
Man, I think it's just ridiculous.
Yeah.
It's the Morning Rant on WPGY The Sports Pig, North Georgia's home for ESPN Radio.
Sit down.
Back here on a Happy Hour Friday. We are live on location once again here at Ronnie Thompson Ford in Ellijay. The Professor Dave Garner in with you till 12 o'clock, along with Big John Davis, again, the refrigerator mover, live with us. Again, we are in the same place. I know if you're watching on YouTube, we've got a couple different cameras here. But again, just so you guys know, yes, we are sitting right next to each other. So there you go. John, you're on two cameras now.
That's it.
But again, we appreciate you guys being with us once again right here on the program. We were talking before the break a little bit about Ted Turner, and of course, you and I both have fond memories of, obviously the different promotions and quirky different things. But, of course, you think about all the TV shows. You think about Andy Griffey. You think about all the stuff on WTBS. And WTBS, of course, was a superstation. Ted Turner, of course, basically created cable news, with CNN and headline news and all those different things. So certainly a pioneer in the broadcast industry. But, own the Atlanta Braves, own the Atlanta Hawks, was very much a part of that. Of course, the turnaround when the Braves finally got things going in the early 90s. They eventually win the World Series. We all know about those sort of things. But, a legend passing away at age 87.
Yeah, it's, look, the Braves are always going to be America's team because when you've got TBS that's out there all over the place, wherever you go, you're going to be able to watch them. I know Chicago had WGN, but you didn't really – they weren't out like TBS was.
Right.
The WGN was – more regional than WTBS, but no, I got a funny story. Well, I think it's funny. After I would finish a game at Georgia Tech, Mom and Dad would usually take me and Hester and a couple of other people, and we'd go to that Longhorn restaurant there on Peachtree Road.
Okay. Yep.
Down by the stadium. And we go in there and sit down and eat, and then all of a sudden you started hearing this commotion back in the back over there, and there's glasses breaking and plates and everything like that. And I'm like, dang, this is Longhorn. This isn't an everyday bar. It's a restaurant,
right?
And sure enough, and we all know Ted liked to tip the bottle a little bit.
Oh yeah,
he had fun and he enjoyed life and everything. But so all of a sudden we're sitting there, and there he comes. He's got one guy on each side, just slowly walking him out. It looked like he had been overserved, and he was. saying jokes and laughing and, telling people who he was and it just a big commotion. Of course, everybody's laughing because, that's how crazy he was and such a big, huge personality. But, I remember going down with Warren to the games and Dave, there'd be, 3,000 people at the stadium. And, you'd see the tent out in left field, Chief Nakahoma and, just all to me, that was a great experience when you're 13, 14 years old.
Absolutely.
You go down there, you sit behind, you could sit anywhere you wanted to. We'd sit behind third base, and Warren and I were like, well, they can't come after us, so we just start razzing the players, looking at each other like thinking, if they do come out of the dugout, we got to find our exit strategy. But no, I mean, he's just a huge personality, and he's left his mark, and he's a life well lived.
Yeah, I was reading a story yesterday about. They had, you mentioned Chief Nakahoma. I think there was even Princess Winalata, was with him for a while. He eventually had a girlfriend there. But there was a thing, the Braves had started out one of the seasons where they had won like 17 of their first, 20 games or something, crazy. And Ted Turner made him take the teepee down because they needed the seats, right?
Right.
And then after they took the teepee down, they lost like 19 of their next 20 or something crazy, and after that he made him put it back up. He said, we're going to put the TP back up out there in left field. But I always remember, those moments of Chief Nakahoma just, hauling, tail, getting to that pitcher's mound, doing the dance, and, definitely some great times there in the old powder blue. And I mentioned it yesterday. It's kind of ironic when you look at this year's City Connect, and I don't know if you get into all the uniforms and things like that, all these throwbacks and things like that. But again, the Brave City Connect for this year is the powder blue, but they incorporated some little nods to WTBS in it with the little block letters on the sleeve that say ATL.
Oh, okay.
But it's the old WTBS, call letter blocked numbers there or letters, and so it's got kind of a cool nod there. And of course, who would have known he would have passed away? I was saying yesterday that Hank Aaron passed away in 2021, and the Braves went on to win the World Series.
Right.
Ted Turner passes away this year. Maybe the Braves can put together some more magic.
Yeah, very well possible. Who knows? It's like I said, he left his mark. And I will say this, those baby blue, powder blue colors, the jerseys, my all-time favorite.
Yeah.
They're my all-time favorite. I can see right now Bob Horner, Chris Chambliss, Dale Murphy, Rafael Ramirez. I could see that. I could just see those guys in the jerseys and everything. And, like I said, Warren and I were fortunate enough when we were younger, we got to go down. We probably would see 7-8 games in the course of the summer and everything. Mr. Sellers was always great because he coached us in baseball, and I'll never forget this story. I was a catcher whenever Warren pitched, and I don't think people realize Warren could throw 80 miles an hour, even when he was a young kid, 75 to 80. Well, I was the only one that could catch him. So, and of course, with he and I growing up and everything, we'd sit in his backyard, and I would sit there and catch him. Well, the problem,
probably without a mask, too.
Without a mask. And but here's the funny part: you remember the shin guards that the players wore, catchers wore and everything. Well, I had shin guards. The only problem was they only covered my shins; they didn't cover my knees.
Oh wow! So you had exposed knees.
So
there,
I was like, Warren comes up and throws a heater, and I miss it, and it busts my knee, and I started crying. I'll never forget down at the Pony League field. I started crying, and I was hurting, and Mr. Sellers, our coach, comes out there, and he says, John, he says, we don't have another catcher. And I said, yes, sir. He says, but if you finish the game, I'll take you to the Braves game tomorrow. I said, yes, sir. And I got right up and went back there and caught for Warren for the rest of the game and stuff. So that, that's another memory of just, the Braves and us being able to go down and Mr. Sellers taking care of us. And, it was a big deal for us, back then, because it's just not like you got down to Atlanta that often.
Right, exactly. It's a little bit different. The world's gotten a lot smaller. I remember, growing up, up, being in Woodstock area, and sometimes after church we would drive up to the old Pinecrest Motel there off of Sixes Road, and that seemed like such a long drive. I mean, now that's like 2 exits up.
Yeah.
I mean, at 5 minutes. But back then it felt like we were going to Tennessee, right. Going 2 exits north of Woodstock, and now, here we are up here in beautiful Ellijay, Georgia today, enjoying this gorgeous Friday here at Ronnie Thompson Ford in Ellijay. Well, we were talking yesterday, and we mentioned it earlier about the random Braves players, and thinking back to that era, I was able to go to the Braves game last Sunday, previous Sunday, and walked right by there. There was a guy. We got to go to radio affiliate today, so we got to go down the field for a second. It was really cool. And walked by a guy, and the guy that was kind of escorting us through the tour said, did you recognize that guy? And I said, no, I wasn't really paying attention. It was Terry Pendleton.
Oh,
Terry
wow.
Pendleton was sitting there. He's kind of hanging out in the Braves office there a little bit. And I started thinking about all the great memories there. And Terry Pendleton, you were talking about toughness. I remember him, I believe, infamously walked off the field in the middle of an inning one game because his pitcher refused to retaliate and hit one of their guys after one of the Braves players had gotten hit.
Right.
And he was so frustrated at and I can't remember who the pitcher was for us at the time, but he wouldn't throw at him, so Pendleton kind of just threw his glove and walked off the field.
Yeah, that's
he was intense like that, but he was definitely competitive.
Hey, when you're Terry Pendleton and you've played like he has played and he left his mark. Today pitchers won't do that anymore. Pitchers, if they say, look, you're going to take care of me, right? Pitchers go out there and you know exactly what's getting ready to happen.
Oh, yeah.
And he's like, okay, I'm going to get kicked out. And it's like, well, you know what? I'll pay your fine, but you make sure that you beam him a good one.
Right, yeah,
and,
exactly.
So I don't see players today talking back to their leaders and stuff and saying, yeah, I'm not going to do that. I pretty much see them going out there and doing what they're told.
Right, absolutely. That competitive edge right there. And, speaking of, again, NBA, NHL playoffs going on. We're going to talk more about that in the show there as well. But right now it looks like, the Buffalo Sabres, still 1-0, beating the Montreal Canadiens the other night. So a good start for those Sabres.
Y'all didn't give them any love yesterday, so I'm here to do that. They actually played very well. The atmosphere in Buffalo is unbelievable, and I know my buddy Mark and Jim up there are happy, and I've got to get in touch with them to see if they're going to try to get to a game and be able to see them play. But I tell you what, I watched last night, and Carolina's for real.
Yeah.
I don't think I've seen a more complete team than what they did to Philadelphia. I'm like sitting. My goal is always to go to the next round. You never want to wish for one opponent or the other. But after last night, I wouldn't mind playing Philadelphia because Carolina's they look like they're the real deal, and they just seem like they're just dominating in all phases of the game.
They are, and I'd say the Avalanche as well. Colorado's certainly looking good. They're already up 2-0 in their series over the Wild, in Minnesota there, who, of course, took care of the Dallas Stars. And then over on the western side there, of course, you've got Vegas Golden Knights and Anaheim Ducks 1-1 right now tied up. But to your point, Carolina, 3-0 right now, looking to close it out over the Flyers already. They'll be sitting around, healing some bruises, man, waiting on some other folks to happen.
Well, and it's like I said, for hockey, I think hockey is probably the hardest sport that's out there. And people say, well, why do you think that? It's 82 games. One, you got to learn how to skate. And those guys are phenomenal athletes. Then you got the hand-eye coordination with the stick and the puck. But you see some of those hits. Oh, my God. Man. I tell you, I just kind of cringe, when I see some of those hits. So, they do say, having too much time, like baseball, having too much time off can hurt you. Yeah. But I can't see that in hockey because, it's like you said, 82 games. They've played another, 7 to 10 games. I bet the motivating factor is let's wrap this thing up so we can get home and heal up.
Right.
And and then get ready, because I don't think this late in the season with hockey you're gonna drop off that much from practicing and not being in tune, because you can still skate because you're not hitting anybody.
Right, exactly.
You can still get all of that stuff done, but without the hitting, and so the players are like, and the players are, it's a habit, they're creatures of habit. They want to get out there, but I know as a football player, Marv did a really good job of late in the season, he wouldn't let us put pads on, even though some of us wanted to. Like, I would take my pads out because there were some things that I had to work on every week, or I just wouldn't play well. And so, but it was always at the end of the game or end of practice, and one of my buddies would help me out on the defensive line. But in hockey, I think it's just one of those to where they can get out and skate, they can game plan, they can move their offenses and stuff like that. But yeah, I'm sure that motivating factor for Carolina is to wrap this thing up so they get about a week off, because Buffalo, you never know. I mean, this could be a 7-gamer unless Buffalo just comes out and smokes them, like Carolina's doing Philadelphia.
Yeah, absolutely. So, anything can happen right there, certainly, once you get into the postseason. Hey, we're chopping it up here on a Friday happy hour at Ronnie Thompson Ford in Ellijay. Again, today's show being brought to you by your friends at Bradley's Bar and Grill in East Cobb. We're going to talk about a big event we've got going on a week from today at Bradley's when we come back from the break, and we'll continue the conversation. NHL, NBA, MLB, NFL, college football, you name it. Again, a lot to chop up here as we have an hour and a half as we go till 12 o'clock today here live at Ronnie Thompson Ford. Come on by and see us. A gorgeous day here in Ellijay as the morning rant rolls on in a moment. Again, we are the home of ESPN Radio in North Georgia here on the Sports Pig, on the Sports Pig app, and also online at sportspigradio.com.
Financial scams are on the rise, and with AI, they're getting more and more sophisticated every day. If someone pressures you to act quickly, ask for secrecy, or request payment through gift cards, wire transfers, or cryptocurrency, stop. Legitimate financial professionals don't rush you or demand unusual payment methods. Before you send money or share personal information, slow down and verify. Protect your future. When in doubt, ask questions.
If you're suspicious of a scam, call the team at Foundation Wealth today at 706-278-0214.
98.1 and 93.7 The Sports Pig, your official home for flag-to-flag coverage of NASCAR. We bring the heat, you bring the trash talk.
Come on, man. Are you serious?
It's the Morning Rant, live on the Sports Pig app and sportspigradio.com.
Back here on a gorgeous Friday here at Ronnie Thompson Ford in Ellijay. It's the Morning Rant. Again, the Professor Dave Garner and the refrigerator mover John Davis with you. Come on by and see us. We'll be here till 12 o'clock today as we chop up the world of local sports. We do have some high school news coming up here in a few moments as we talk about high school baseball, a Final Four, you name it, a little bit of everything going on. But right now we are joined by a very special guest and a familiar voice, if you will, on the program, because we heard from him on Wednesday, but he's got some big news to share, and so we wanted to bring in our friend Patrick McVeigh back into the broadcast here today. Man, how you doing?
Doing great. Good to be with you guys.
So it's Dress Down Friday. You were dressed really nice, and you got jeans on today, right?
That's
so
right.
It's Casual Friday.
Casual Friday.
There you go.
That's
I love
right.
it. Still sporting the United Community Bank T-shirt right here today. Again, John and I have been chopping it up, talking a lot about, the Braves, NBA playoffs, NHL, and all that stuff. But you come to us with some exciting news here as we bring it back local for just a moment. And again, your son Jackson McVeigh, for those that don't know, of course, was a freshman at the University of Georgia last year on the basketball team, recently entered the portal. You and I talked about that on Wednesday as far as what that process looks like, what it's been like for you guys as a family. But you're here with with an update here today.
Yes, I am. Boy, I tell you what, that process is a fast-moving process in a short period of time, I got to say. But no, Jackson has decided to stay home in state of Georgia. Yeah. He's going to be a Georgia Tech Yellow Jacket.
Hey, there we go.
Fantastic.
Now, how awesome is that to be sitting next to John Davis with an announcement like that? I know that certainly pleases my co-host here. But talk about the decision. I mean, what went into that decision? Obviously, you guys, ironically grew up as Tech fans, right? So it had to be hard for him to go to Georgia, to go to Athens in the first place. But you swallowed your pride, and you guys did that. But now, of course, making this decision. So what played into that?
Well, Jackson needs to go somewhere where he can be use all of his abilities. You know, he can shoot threes, he can shoot mid ranges. He's quick off the dribble. He can catch and pick and roll and shoot the short mid range shot. He also can do post up moves with the best of them. So he's got a wide range of use for a 7-footer that's rare for a 7-footer.
Right.
So he needs to go somewhere where he can really showcase his abilities. And Scott Cross has showed us that, you know, for 20 minutes in his offense what he can do for Jackson and where he would be in those offense moves.
I love it.
Very impressed with him.
Yeah, Coach Cross, of course, the newly hired head coach at Georgia Tech with the men's basketball program right there. So, again, it'll be interesting to see kind of what style and so forth. But obviously, we like what we're hearing so far, it sounds like.
Correct.
So, again, Jackson McVeigh, again, headed to Georgia Tech, Big John's alma mater. Again, John was a 2-time All-American. So, again, right here in your backyard. Now you've got some company because I know you talk about, all these Georgia fans here in this area. But at least there's another big-time athlete now.
The more Tech men we can have, we'll take. I'm happy. I'm happy for Jackson. I'm glad it's a great fit because, as you know, it's hard to find that with a coach. And I didn't take part of the transfer portal or anything like that. But hearing from Brent Key and how you have explained how fast it goes, because basically you got to make a decision, on the run, really. But to be able, and I've heard great things about Coach Cross. I haven't had a chance to meet him, but it sounds like he saw something in Jackson, which is very exciting. And we need big men. The more big men you can have, the better, and especially the versatile ones.
Yes, that's correct.
Yep. And you think about the campus. The one thing that I'll say about Georgia Tech, and my stepson went through the recruiting process for track and, was very high on Georgia Tech. The one thing that I didn't realize about Tech's campus is, you feel like a lot of people kind of get intimidated by, well, it's in Atlanta, it's this and that. There's amazing how much green space is on that campus. Like, you're laying in hammocks and you don't hear anything. Yeah. You have no idea until you really look in the distance that you're even in Atlanta.
Well, and I think the coaches have done a very good job. We used to have coaches that would not sell Atlanta because of the crime downtown. You got to stay out of this place. You got to stay out of this. Well, you get somebody like Brent Key to come in, and he's like, hell, we're selling Atlanta. We got the rap, the music industry that's in Atlanta,
culture,
the video or the movie industry. And there's all sorts of things that they can pull from that will help them later on in life. And so Brent's really turned that around, and he's started to. And Brent knew it and I'm sure Coach Cross is going to be the same way. I know basketball is a little bit different, but when we can start pulling the kids back from Athens, back from Tennessee, back from Auburn, when we can start pulling, then both programs are going to be very good.
Correct.
So, but they've in turn sold Atlanta, and that's what intrigues the kids now to come because they see a vast amount of opportunities. Just getting a degree from Georgia Tech is one thing. That's a 40-year decision that you make, but now you've opened yourself up to a whole bunch of other opportunities, and I think that's what the coaches have done, very good in the past 4 or 5 years.
Absolutely. Yeah, well, looking forward to it. Definitely seeing Jackson in some different colors, but as I was texting with you last night, still in state, and for someone like me, now I know, we talked about we were joking around about Gilmer Pickens, and it's not a friendly rivalry. Let's just say what it is. It's good old-fashioned hate, right? Just like Georgia Tech, I was trying to be nice. But it is one of those things. Selfishly, I look at that and I think, man, I'm so thankful that we have Jackson, still in state because I do like both programs. My stepson graduated from UGA, but was very high on Tech. I've got a lot of Georgia fans in my family. I got a lot of Georgia Tech fans in my family. I grew up a Tech fan, so but I have no hate either. I'm one of the few. I know I'm not a true fan, I guess, that doesn't have that hate. But selfishly, I love seeing Jackson close by, still in the state there, and even more convenient for you guys.
That's correct. We're going to see all the home games and a lot of the away games.
Yeah. Right.
So we're thrilled. We can't be any more thrilled.
Exactly. And then you've got Preston, of course, waiting in the wings. Has already gotten an offer from Appalachian State. I'm sure there'll be others to come as well. Yes. So exciting times for the McVeigh family.
Yeah, we're excited about all of it.
Yeah, awesome. Well, thanks for joining us right here on the program again. And again, as always, we wish Jackson the best, and we'll periodically have you on so that you can kind of update his progress. What are the next few weeks going going to look like for him?
The coach wants them to move in, believe it or not, next weekend. It's early, and they go for 8 weeks, and then I think they take a couple classes, and then they go for 8 weeks, and then they're off. And then in that 8 weeks, I think they go to the Bahamas for like a camp tournament thing, and then have a few weeks off, and then they start the fall semester.
Okay.
So it's starting quick. That's why I say that decision had to be made pretty soon.
I was going to say, Coach Cross, definitely getting after it and being the new coach there, trying to make his mark, trying to bring in as the top players as he can. So
I mean, I think he, look, Damon. Is a good basketball coach. I don't think he was a good basketball coach for Georgia Tech. I don't think it was the right fit because one of my friends out of Arizona, they want him immediately to come back to Arizona. Well, they've got a great coach out there right now as well.
Right, yeah.
But no, it sounds like Coach Cross is like you said, it's fast moving pace. He's going to get a couple of classes into the summer, which is going to be great. He's going to get acclimated and stuff. But let me tell you this, enjoy it because I just married off my fourth. And I got to tell you, it goes by fast.
I bet it does.
Julia was our last that played volleyball, and we enjoyed every bit of it. But getting her married this past February, it just reminded me, how fast it goes. And then with Olivia last week having our third grandbaby, it's like holy cow.
Wow.
So enjoy every bit of it.
We'll do it.
Enjoy every bit of it.
We'll do it.
Absolutely. Again, Patrick McVeigh joining us right here live on the Morning Rant here outside Ronnie Thompson Ford in Ellijay as we celebrate the decision of Jackson McVeigh, again a local hometown hero. I know that the Kiker, is at Georgia Tech as well. The football team will, and so a couple of kids. It kind of goes back to our conversation we were having the other day about how this area traditionally and admittedly not necessarily a hotbed for D1 type talent traditionally. That's why there's only so many Big John Davises that come from this area, but you're seeing more and more. A lot of the what we call mountain schools are starting to turn out a lot of D1 talent. We're starting to see kids going a lot of different places. We're also attracting a lot of the high school coaches out of Atlanta moving up here as well.
Well, and also, and Patrick, you might have a different experience, but back when I was going through high school, it was really word of mouth because I remember playing at Tryon in a spring game over there, and Alabama was there, and they saw me, and so and then all of a sudden, the next week. Georgia came, and then Georgia Tech came, and then Tennessee came. Today the coaches, and with all the camps that are going on as well, with stuff that's going on in the what do they call it, the A1A, not A1A, AAU, with stuff like that, and getting these kids out and getting them noticed. Social media, you're able to put the kids' highlights out with Huddle and different social media outlets, which I think is fantastic, and that's something obviously that we didn't have coming through. So
correct.
Very proud of him. I think he's going to have a lot of fun. I know he'll love Georgia Tech, and I think he'll hopefully it'll be a great fit for him, and Coach Cross will get him in there, and we'll get to see him on it's usually Tuesdays and Saturdays, something like that, Wednesdays and Saturdays.
There we go. Get him in the rotation right there. Yeah, you can tell we're here on location because you're hearing all kinds of delivery trucks and things backing up. The water, the spring water truck just pulled up here, so they're restocking the water coolers here at Ronnie Thompson Ford as we speak. But again, Patrick, thanks for being with us right here on the program. I don't want to keep you too long there, but congratulations to Jackson, of course, but certainly all of you guys as well. And looking forward to keeping you on here, man, as a friend of the program.
Thank you very much. Glad to do it.
Awesome.
Glad to do it. Thank you. Thank you, John. Good to see you. Good to see you.
We'll take a quick time out right here. Again, the Friday happy hour edition of the Morning Rant live from Ronnie Thompson Ford until 12 o'clock. Dave and Big John Davis with you back here in a moment as we continue on here with some more talk, MLB, NHL, and a whole lot more, plus some high school news coming up. All that and more right here on the Friday edition of the Morning Rant here on the home of ESPN Radio in North Georgia on the SportsPig app and online at sportspigradio.com.
Whatever cooling solution makes the most sense, Green Heating and Cooling is ready to help. Whether you need a quick fix or an entirely new cooling system, Green will do whatever it takes
takes for your family's comfort. With Green, you get more than just a technician. You get someone who's committed to meeting your needs and achieving a high level of training and skills. Someone backed by outstanding products from one of the industry's most trusted names, Bryant. Nobody understands the ins and outs of home comfort like Green. So whatever your situation or budget, Green Heating and Cooling has a solution for you. Bryant, whatever it takes.
Grand Slam! 98.1 and 93.7 The Sports Pig, the official home for the Atlanta Braves baseball.
Morning grind with Fork Grind.
Welcome to the show.
It's the Morning Rant, weekday mornings from 10 to 11 on 98.1, 93.7, and 101.1 on the H2 dial. WPGY, the Sports Pig.
And working right through this first hour, coming at you on sportspigradio.com and also on the app. Again, join us and visit us on our social media as well. Again, the Sports Pig, as always, is on Facebook. Our show, The Morning Rant, you can catch clips on Instagram. You can also watch full video episodes of the show daily on YouTube. The podcast version of The Morning Rant is also available on our website, sportspigradio.com, and wherever you listen to your favorite daily podcast on both Apple and Android platforms, including Spotify, Podbean, you name it, man. We're all over the place. You can also catch us on Twitter. I'm at Dave Garner 777. He's at John Davis _65. And this is the Morning Rant. Again, our Friday happy hour presented by your friends at Bradley's Bar and Grill. And speaking of, a week from today, next Friday, right here, the program again hits the road. We will be at Bradley's Bar and Grill off of Lower Roswell Road in East Cobb next Friday. We're going to go from 10 to 1 that day. So if you are in the area, please come on by. Again, we've got raffle tickets even with us here today, but we're going to be doing some giveaways. There's going to great food, fun, and again, looking forward to just a great event next Friday.
2 sets of tickets to the Braves we'll give away that day, and they'll be able to choose their game in June coming up. Hester and her partner Travis have donated those, and in the not the Hank Aaron, but the Chop House.
There you go.
Very good seats in the right field, right down the right field line, and 50-cent wings, bottomless mimosas, Bloody Marys. He's got one of the best lunch menus in East Cobb. Hope that we can get as many people in there and support John, but also come in and see Dave and I and support us and get this radio kicked off and bigger and better things.
Absolutely, yeah. Looking forward to it. The only thing we've got to determine, you and I were talking about, do we go inside? Do we go outside? So we're going to have to figure that out. But either way, we're going to have not only the radio show going on over the airwaves and, of course, on our video platforms and podcast platforms and things, but we're also going to have kind of a live show in person that day, too. So it kind of adds another element to our program. And so we hope that you'll join us for that, whether it be over the air, online, or in person. Either way, come on out. Hopefully the weather will be nice as it is today. Temperatures today, so far this morning, right around 60 degrees, man. A nice little breeze. So, again, if you're warm-natured like myself, I mean, it's a perfect day out here. It's sunny and gorgeous in Ellijay as we broadcast live from Ronnie Thompson Ford in Ellijay as part of our Friday edition of the Morning Rant. We were talking, John, before Patrick McVeigh joined us in the last segment, breaking the news. Of course, his son Jackson McVeigh is officially headed to Georgia Tech, transferring and hit the portal. Will move from Athens to Atlanta and will stay in state. He will continue his athletic and academic career at Georgia Tech. So some big news right here locally with involving one of our local athletes, particularly in Gilmer County. And I wanted to mention that there are a couple of local area baseball teams that are Final Four bound. One of those being right down the road. We were talking about the rivalry earlier, but congratulations once again to the Pickens Dragons. They are headed back to the Final Four. I believe this is the second or third trip in a row for the Pickens Dragons. They qualified yesterday. They beat West Lawrence, swept them in a 3-game series. They won the first 2 games, so they are headed to the Final Four. Congratulations to Pickens High School and also our friends at North Cobb Christian in the Kennesaw-Ackworth area. We had Jimmy Keene on, head coach Jimmy Keene, a week or two ago ago right here on the program. His North Cobb Eagles in the private bracket, they are headed to the Final Four as well after getting it done last night in their series there. So, again, congratulations to those teams. Now, there's still a couple other teams out there. Cartersville, Cherokee, there's still some teams, I think, that have to finish up their series tonight, I believe. So we will have a lot more news for you on Monday, but it's always great to see so many of our area high schools advance to that level in any sport.
Yeah, no, it is, and a way to represent North Georgia. As we said before, things have changed over the last 30 or 40 years since I've been here, and the athletes I think are getting better, but I think the coaching's getting better.
Yeah.
And not to say anything about coaches back when I coached or when I played, but I think there's just there's a lot more technique coached right now. There's a lot more helping the players understand. Why do they do this? Why do they do that? Coach, why are you asking me to do this? Whereas, back when I played, it would be shut up and just do what I told you to, tell you what to do. Yeah, I told you so. But I think it's just gotten so much more technical now that the coaching has gotten so much better that you're seeing these kids, and even at a young age, the coaching has gotten better. Now do I promote, contact football in, second, third, and fourth grade? I kind of wish they would kind of stay away from that a little bit.
Right.
Flag football serves a good purpose as well. But, basketball, baseball, things like that, you start them at that age, and you teach them how to throw the ball. You teach them how to hold the bat. You teach them, eye on the ball and catching and stuff like that. I just think it's gotten a lot better, even because I coached my boys in middle school football down in Walton, and, some of the coaches that I had to deal with were, really knuckleheads, and I just shook my head and would walk away. But now I know Coach Stander's probably sitting there saying, okay, I want these kids doing what I'm doing at the high school level, and so I'm sure he's got a communication with all the coaches that are in the county saying, okay, kids or coaches, this is what I want y'all to do. And that way, when they get to the head coach or when they get to the high school, then Coach Standard and his coaches, they've got half the battle won,
right?
Because now they're not having to start at the basics. They're continuing, the coaching that they got from middle school and even elementary school. So, I just see it as a win-win for everybody, and I think the coaching part is a big part of that.
Absolutely, I agree 100%. And we're drawing, as we talked about, we're drawing more and more quality coaches up to the North Georgia area, out of the city and even out of state for that matter. So again, definitely taking the next step there. Again, a shout out to our man Aaron Childers back inside Master Control today, our producer for this Friday edition of the Morning Rant. I'm Dave Garner. He's John Davis, and we welcome you in. Keeping it local for just a moment, I do want to help our friend Stevie Lau promote a big pickleball tournament coming up in August. Again, the registration already approaching 300 players. They're going to have capacity for around 600 this year. We're going to talk a little bit more about that later on, but it is the Jamming for Joy Pickleball Tournament taking place in August to benefit the Joy House in Pickens County, and so they're expected to fill all 600 spots. But again, go ahead and reserve your spot. The registration will take place throughout this month and on into the next month, but they already have players from 11 different states. And again, we are going to try to talk to Steve maybe next week and try to have him on the show perhaps and talk a little bit more about this pickleball tournament. They're big pickleball players. But I want to ask you, John, in a few minutes here before the top of the hour, before we start our second hour of the show there, man, are you getting on board with this whole pickleball thing? Because, man, I'm telling you, pickleball has absolutely taken over here in the South.
Listen, dude, with my knees and back, there's no way in hell that I would even try to get out there. I've been wanting to get Hester out just to hit a tennis ball here and there, but, I take my hat off of I even watch it, because it's even you got the retired tennis players, playing in the tournaments and everything, and I think it's
no doubt.
I think, it's obviously I had never heard of pickleball until my old teammate Shane Conlon's wife started talking about it about 10 or 12 years ago up in Pittsburgh, and I'm like, what in the hell is pickleball? I could never figure it out, and then sure enough, so we in our neighborhood we even have 2 courts now for pickleball, and they're out there playing just about every day. So I can't, my buddy Mark Butler up in Buffalo, he and his wife play, and he's got a bad back and of course, I think he might have had 1 or 2 knee replacements as well, and he loves it. He can get all over the place and loves it. And I'm just like, you know what? I'm going to minimize the opportunities that I have to get hurt, and I just don't see pickleball in my future.
Oh man! Well, and I've told the story here on the program before. I was introduced to it probably 20 years ago with Preacher Lowell Lawson, who, of course, was our statistician on our high school broadcast for many years. And, again, Lowell Lawson, a lot of folks in Cherokee County know he was the chaplain for the Sheriff's Department down there and, did a lot with the Cherokee County Hall of Fame, which, of course, we broadcasted from last Friday. But, again, he told me he was from Michigan, a native of up north, and he said, I promise, he goes, pickleball's coming. You need to start covering it. You need to start talking about it. And I was like you. I'm like, what the hell is pickleball? Like, I'm not. Why would I go cover this? I was working at TV then. But sure enough, they started having some tournaments. And then, lo and behold, it took a while. But here we are 15, 20 years later or so. And now all of a sudden they're repurposing tennis courts. Yep. Now they're just building straight up pickleball courts. Right. And there's facilities. I don't know if you heard about the one over, I think it's in Alpharetta. It used to be a skating rink. But they repurposed it because, and they made it a complete pickleball indoor facility because that's kind of, a lot of the skating rinks and places like that, are kind of dying off a little bit. They repurposed it into this thriving pickleball facility. So, I mean, it really has just exploded in this part of the country.
Well, and, also I'll say one thing. If you remember lacrosse, I remember being up in Buffalo in the early 2000s and, looking outside the house and the kids would be walking up and down the street with a stick and a ball in their hand, and that's all they were doing was that. And I'm like, good grief, what in the hell are they doing? And they, and sure enough, you come back to Georgia, and all of a sudden lacrosse takes off. John Henry even played a couple of years of it and stuff, which is a lot of fun to watch and everything. But yeah, it's like I said, Shane's wife was talking about it, 12, 14 years ago, and I'm like, holy crap! And now, I think in Ellijay down at the park, I think right next to the swimming pool, I think there's 12, 14 courts down there. Oh yeah, and they're full. They're full. They're out there with if the weather's nice, they're full. Yeah.
Whatever will get you out and get you active. Hey man, I'm all for it. I really do selfishly want to play because I love playing tennis, but I do want to try to pick up the game there a little bit. So who knows? Maybe we'll get involved. Several of my friends do it, but again, pickleball, the new craze here in the South. Hey, final hour coming up. Again, hour number 1 already in the books. This would be when our normal show would end, but we're going a whole nother hour here. We're live at Ronnie Thompson Ford today in Ellijay, enjoying a beautiful afternoon, or a beautiful morning, if you will, as we take you up until the afternoon, until the noon hour today. Dave Garner alongside Big John Davis. Come by and see us. When we come back, we're going to continue our discussions and bring up some college football news, also some NFL stuff as well as far as officials and so forth. Again, keep it right here. We are the home of ESPN Radio in North Georgia, on the Sports Pig app and online at sportspigradio.com.
You entrusted your loved one's care to a nursing home, expecting compassion and quality treatment. Instead, they suffered from neglect, abuse, bed sores, falls, or medication errors that could have been prevented. I'm Chris Brown from Geiger Legal Group. Our elderly deserve dignity and proper care, not negligence that causes pain and suffering. When nursing homes fail in their duty of care, we fight to hold them accountable. Your loved one's suffering matters. We'll stand up for those who can't stand up for themselves.
Call Geiger Legal Group at 833-HELP-GLG and let us tell your story today.
You're listening to WPGY, the Sports Pig.
Home to ESPN Radio at Ellijay and all of North Georgia.
98.1 and 93.7 FM.
Locally owned by Carriage Radio.
You snoozed twice this morning, spilled your coffee once, and you've already blamed last night's referee for your morning mood.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
It's time to embrace the chaos and step into the madness.
Bro, you about to see a side of me you didn't even know existed.
Featuring guests who are over-caffeinated and less reasonable than the average person.
Man, I think it's just ridiculous.
Come on, man. Are you serious? Ugh.
Fans, where else would you rather be than right here, right now? Welcome to the show.
So buckle up. It's time for hot takes and hot mics. This is the Morning Rant,
where the only thing more unpredictable is Dave before his third cup of coffee.
I just felt like running.
On WPGY, the Sports Pig.
Well, what's up, North Georgia? Again, Dave Garner back with you right here, hour number 2 headed your way right here on the Morning Rant. Thanks for being with us on this gorgeous Friday. We are live at Ronnie Thompson Ford in Ellijay. I'm here with my man Big John Davis as we continue to chop it up heading into the weekend. Hour number 2 of the program, again, brought to you by your friends at Bradley's Bar and Grill. Next Friday, we will be there live from 10 to 1 as, again, we have a 3-hour show and looking forward to it. Going to be a lot of things going on that day. Guests coming in and out. We'll be doing giveaways, probably a few things on the air as well throughout the morning there and into the afternoon. So even though the name of the show is technically the Morning Rant, we will have at least an hour or so of it being the Afternoon Rant next week. So I don't know if we're going to rebrand anything or not, but we'll call it that nonetheless. But we're still in the safe zone today here because we're still in the AM. So again, the Morning Rant till 12 today here at Ronnie Thompson Ford in Ellijay, and we appreciate you guys being with us. We are hijacking the first hour of the Chuck Oliver show, but we will return you to Chuck Oliver at 1 o'clock here today. Chuck will go at 12. Chuck will go from 12 to 1, and then we'll return you to ESPN programming after that as well. So again, taking over the first hour of Southern Sports today with the King of College Football, but he will be back with you right at 12 o'clock here today as John and I again do our show live on location here on this Happy Hour Friday edition of the program. As we kind of dive back into it, we had a great first hour. We talked about some of our high school, our local area teams, and some of their things that they have going on and what they've done. Jackson McVeigh making his decision official. We heard it straight from the source there. Again, his dad, Patrick McVeigh, joining us right here on the program in the first hour. And we also talked about the passing of Ted Turner. Had some Braves news there as well as they get set for a 3-game set, which starts tonight against the Dodgers. John, you and I were talking earlier in the show about Major League Baseball, retaliation, and then we were also talking about, the NHL and, the toughness. And I want to merge those two together for a second. I think what makes baseball confrontation so entertaining, I guess, or interesting is that it doesn't happen that often. So when it does, a fight in hockey happens about every 10 minutes, right? But it doesn't happen that often in baseball. So when it does happen in baseball, it tends to get headlines. It tends to get a lot of attention because, again, the rarity of it. But to me, those are some of the best fights and brawls when the dugout's clear and the bench is empty, simply because you just don't see it a lot.
Well, it's. The fights can go either way. I've seen when a pitcher or when a batter goes after the pitcher and that pitcher's backtracking as fast as he can. He's like, okay, I just hit you, but you're not going to hit me back. So he's getting out of he's waiting for his teammates to come in and take care of him. And then it goes back. I think we talked about it in one of our first shows, the classic Nolan Ryan fight with
Ventura.
Ventura. Yeah. He goes out there and Nolan just puts him in a headlock and gets about 8 or 9 punches right in a row, and
oh my gosh!
I don't think anybody else charged Nolan after that.
Yeah,
but, and that's Nolan at 42, 43 years old.
He was well in the twilight of a career there.
But no, it's funny watching some of them. Jason Varitek, the catcher for Boston, he used to throw down quite a bit. And he didn't back down from anybody. But you get those rivalries. Boston and the Yankees. If they got a chance to, you get a ball close to the chin. All they need is just one little, one little mishap, and they'll go after it. And then you get the coaches coming out there. What was it? Was it Walt Weiss? I think a fight back at the beginning of the season where he tackled
Jorge Soler.
He tackled a player, and he's a scrappy little dude as well. Walt is. The baseball fights are always, to me, entertaining. Hockey's a little bit different because you got the pads, and you might land a shot every 10 punches, right? But, and then once you fall down, they call the fight over, which I don't think's fair because that's when you really start fighting.
Right, exactly.
Hey, look, it took me 5 minutes to get him on the ground. Let me go ahead and finish it up.
Yeah, let me finish him off here.
But so the baseball fights are definitely entertaining.
Oh, man, I tell you. Yeah, and it's, there's been some good ones over the years. It seemed like there was a lot more beanball back in the day. I think Sports Illustrated even wrote an article about that at one point because there were, especially in the 80s, man, there were a lot of different bench clearing situations. You don't see quite as many of them today, but it's kind of like a build-up because when you do see them, they definitely go a long way. Speaking of, and you brought this up, tying in baseball now with high school, baseball and some of the things that we were talking about, and former great players. You mentioned, again, Veritek, Georgia Tech.
Yep.
Nomar, Garcia-Parra, Georgia Tech as well. Both Georgia and Georgia Tech this year have essentially been top 5 baseball teams. So, man, it's great to see, so much local area talent. I think a lot of people think about, the football talent that comes out of Georgia.
Right.
And they think about the basketball talent that comes out of Georgia. But, a lot of people don't realize when you're looking down these major league rosters, I mean, how many Georgia guys, are in the MLB?
And they've got a great program down in East Cobb. East Cobb baseball is really known around the country. And I think there's one club also, the 643 or 642 club that's really big over in East Cobb. And they get a lot. In Georgia Tech, they feed off of that. And, the nice thing about Tech and Georgia, if they did that, get the players from in-state, is that they got the Hope Scholarship because they only have, I think, if I'm not mistaken, they only have about 12 or 13 scholarships.
Right.
So baseball players are notoriously smart, and so they can bring them in, especially from the Tech side. They can bring them in and give them a half a scholarship, and then plus the Hope, or a quarter, and plus the Hope. Now you get your very good players like Burris and some of those guys that obviously you're going to give them a full ride, especially after what he's done. But you keep the whole thing is, and the one thing that I will say that with this whole NIL and the whole transfer thing, they did I saw a poll, not a poll, but it was somebody had put up on X. It was a Georgia Tech guy that Georgia Tech, I believe, 78 or 80% of their players are in-state players.
Okay, wow, that's awesome.
And then they went on down, and then Georgia was bottom at like 35% was in-state. And so now, but that goes to Georgia utilizing the transfer portal. They go all over the country and utilize it because that it works for them.
Right.
And whereas Georgia Tech baseball is like we're going to home grow them, and this is, we've done it for years. I mean, Jim Morris used to do it, Danny Hall did it, and now Ramsey's doing it, and so it's just whatever fits the needs of your program. Brent Key does not like the transfer portal. It is what it is, but he told me a couple of years ago, he said, Big John, he said, I've got 2 needs, offensive line and defensive line, and size. And that's what he's done. He's gone out and he's got the size on the offensive line. Just think of the old Alabama teams, and now, the Georgia teams with their size. He's finally got that in Atlanta, and he's finally got the size and the depth on the defensive line. And I think he only signed, I believe there were only 19 transfers that came in. So he's got his own staff that goes out and he tells them, he said, here's going to be our targets for this year, just like any other team. Here's going to be our targets, and I want you to go out there and you get the top 5 of everything that we need, and then we'll start bringing them in. And then that's what he's done. Because you see some teams are overhauled. What was it? Colorado a couple of years ago brought in, 70 or 80 players.
Yeah, they turned over the whole team.
The whole team just about it. I mean, Deion's like, get out. We're changing. We're changing everything. So, it goes to your needs. It goes to, how comfortable do I feel in being able to, bring these kids in. You got, obviously the money plays a big factor in it. And I think Brent has really kind of fine-tuned it down to where, he's not going after just every kid that's out there, but he's going to fill the needs that he needs. That's going to get us. And he knows this. I mean, if history shows you at Georgia Tech, we've never really had depth at the offense and defensive line. Never really had depth. We got 22, maybe 28 good players. Georgia's got 44 to 50. Alabama's got 44 to 50. Clemson's got 44 to 50. 2 teams with some overspill. Tech's never had that. And Brent came in and he said, to hell with that. He says, we're going to have it from now on. And that's what he's done. And he's gone out and he's got the depth on both sides of the ball. And that's why I think this year, I don't know what our record's going to be. I'm not going to sit here and say that we're going to be, 10-2, 11-1, 9-3. I don't know, because, again, notoriously, we have one of the toughest schedules in the country. But it is what it is. And Brent doesn't care, but he's going to be competitive every game. now that you've got the depth makes the biggest difference of all. Now we're going to be able, you got to remember the last 3 years, the Tech-Georgia game's only been one score. It's come down to one score. And so, we're closing that gap. Yeah. And that's what Brent's main objective was. Kirby knows it too. Yeah. And Brent and Kirby are very good friends. And so, in fact, when Brent was the interim coach, and I saw them meet at half on the field in Athens after his first game against Georgia, I knew what Kirby was doing. Kirby offered him a job. Yeah. And he says, look, if Tech doesn't hire you, I want you over here. And, that's when we all got on the phone and said, you need to hire this kid right now. And thankfully he did. AD, one of the smart decisions that he made was hire Brent. And you have seen it's not been as quick as everybody wants, and it's not been as quick as what Brent has wanted. Yeah. But he's finally got the pieces in place to where we're going to, at the end of the fourth quarter, there's not going to be any more Pittsburgh games. There's not going to be any more NC State games. Yeah. There's not going to be, getting behind at Wake or getting behind at Duke and having to come back from behind. He's setting the tone at the very beginning of the game, and he's playing front runner football, and that's where he wants to be. And I think that's why we're going to be more successful.
There we go. State of the Union right there again. Georgia Tech football coach Brent Key. And we'll continue our college football discussion here coming up here as we hijack the first hour, as we mentioned, of the Chuck Oliver Show. So we want to make sure that we give you the kind of stuff that Chuck would give you right here. However, I will say that we have a different perspective right here on the program because we got Big John Davis with us right here with a first-hand perspective of that Georgia Tech locker room as well. And we appreciate it right here. Once again, the big man bringing it on a Friday, our happy hour edition of the program. We are live here at Ronnie Thompson Ford in Ellijay. Again, we are through the first segment of hour number 2. When we come back, we'll dive into some NFL news as well. Thank you guys for listening to us right here on the home of ESPN Radio in North Georgia on the Sports Pig app and online at sportspigradio.com.
If you're passing through North Georgia this spring season, don't pass up the best barbecue in the South, Biggins Barbecue. Slow cooked to perfection, Biggins has delicious fall-off-the-bone ribs, mouth-watering hickory smoked meats, and one-of-a-kind savory sauces. And don't get scared by a busy-looking parking lot. Biggins' fast, friendly, and efficient service will get you back on the road in no time. So come by or call and pick up Biggins for your next get-together. Right off Highway 515 in Talking Rock, Biggins, the official fan club favorite barbecue of WPGY The Sports Pig, and barbecue fans all over North Georgia.
When an 80,000-pound truck collides with your vehicle, the results are often severe injuries, crushing medical bills, and lives forever changed. Trucking companies and their drivers must follow strict safety regulations to protect everyone on the road. I'm Chris Brown from Geiger Legal Group. When truckers violate hours of service rules, skip maintenance, or drive recklessly, we investigate thoroughly and fight aggressively for maximum compensation. Don't let trucking companies minimize your claim. We know how to take on the big trucking industry.
Call Geiger Legal Group at 833-HELP-GLG and let us tell your story today.
Big opinions of the big games from the big mouths.
Man, I think it's just ridiculous.
Yeah.
It's the Morning Rant on WPGY The Sports Pig, North Georgia's home for ESPN Radio.
Sit down.
Back here on a Friday happy hour episode of the Morning Rant. Dave Garner with you alongside Big John Davis here in Ellijay at Ronnie Thompson Ford. We're live today, broadcasting here from right outside the front door. Come by and see us. We'll be here till noon today, and we appreciate you guys. We've had a couple folks stop by and say hello and wave at us. We've had some cars, of course, coming by here, so we, again, want to see you here on Kusawati Drive. If you're able to make it by, we encourage you to do that as we watch the cars kind of come up and down the hill right here at Ronnie Thompson Ford. And hopefully maybe we'll hear from Heath or Chad here in a few moments. We'll try to drag one of those guys in with us as well. But I want to continue our conversation. We were talking a little bit about the expansion of the March Madness field from 64 to 76. The tournament committee, I guess, has put out a kind of a mock bracket, if you will, of what that might look like. Basically going to be adding in some more play-in games, it looks like, to accommodate, the extra teams in the field. But for the most part, after those play-in games, then the tournament kind of goes back to the way it is. But certainly, as John and I have talked about, perhaps employ, just a money-making deal, an opportunity for the conferences to get a couple more teams in there. One of the other things that we also talked about on the program earlier this week was the scheduling, particularly for college football, as far as possibly eliminating the conference championship games, taking away an extra bye week, trying to, have the season to where it's not lingering on so late into January. So a lot of things right now on the table when you look at the state of college athletics, both football and basketball-wise.
Well, for football, I think shortening the season needs to happen, because once you get into January, now you're messing with the NFL.
Yeah.
And the NFL doesn't like that, because the NFL's got to be number one, and we all know what that's about. The conference championship games, yes, I think they should get rid of them. I think now that you're seeing it hurts teams more than it helps them. Alabama was going to make the playoffs no matter what happened. It doesn't matter how bad they got beat. They're still going to make the playoffs. But as far as the basketball, and we've said this before, hell, why don't they just put 128 teams in it? Why don't they just put every D1 team in there or whatever? Yeah. Because that's that's what I think is going to get to. Jim Boeheim said that at Syracuse. He says, why don't we just have everybody in it? Because we know what the ultimate goal is going to be. But I did hear, I believe it was last night or the day before, it might have been on the way back from Raleigh, that they said that the play-in games, they were not starting the Final Four until that Thursday at noon. When they start the tournament, they said they would not be promoting those other games. That the Final Four would start on that Thursday afternoon, like it has always done. So somebody has kind of put their foot down and said, y'all can do what the hell you want to do, but this is what we're going to do.
Right.
And, but again, I think it goes back to you said it correctly a minute ago. It's all about the money. But I just don't understand why they just don't put 100. The top D1 teams in there and go from there,
It would make sense. To a certain extent, it wouldn't make sense, but you might as well. And
what's it going to do, though? It's all it's going to do is add 1 week. It's not that big of a deal.
Yeah, exactly. And we had the perspective on here earlier in the week in the show, like, we're going to watch, and people are still going to watch regardless of whether, you've only got 64 or you've got 164. People are still going to watch, and so that was a perspective that we had earlier in the week right here on the program as well. But to your point, goodness, you're not really expanding the season out, but we're joking around saying, there's different coaches out there that'll never lose their job, right?
Yeah, exactly. Well, and then getting back to the football side of it, they keep preaching. It's so hypocritical because they keep preaching player safety, they keep preaching, academics and all of this, and I'm like, when's it going to stop? Because I think right now, if you expand the teams to 24, you're still. Let's see, what is that? 1, 2, 3, 4. That's like 6 extra games,
right? Yeah.
And then you're, and trust me, the kids are still young. They're they're not professionals, even though some of them look like they are, but they're not professionals. And so 16-game schedule in college is a hell of a lot different than a 16-game or 17-game schedule in the NFL, because we're trained for that in the NFL. In college, they're not. And so who knows what they're going to do? It's coming. It's coming. It's just a matter of strength. Losing 1 bye week and then shortening to where you don't have 30 days in between games. And I'll tell you another thing they need to do, Dave. And I don't know if they'll do it, but Warren and I used to talk about this all the time. Is the bowl season's really got out of hand as far as you got 44, 45 bowls. You got teams that are 5-7, 6-6 playing in the bowl games. When we went to the All-American Bowl in 1985 with Georgia Tech, we played Michigan State, but I think at the time, Dave, there were only 19 bowls, if I'm not mistaken.
Right.
At that, excuse me, at that time.
Yep.
Excuse me, at that time there were only like 19 bowl games, so it was a privilege to go to a bowl game.
Yeah.
And so I think what they need to do is that they need to go into these 40 bowls or whatever they do and say, okay, here are the requirements that you must meet before we choose you for a bowl game, and and set it so stringent that it's going to play like a Sugar Bowl, or it's going to play like a Gator Bowl, or it's going to play like a Fiesta Bowl or something like that. Look, the Auto Care Bowl in Detroit, you get 15,000 people.
Yeah.
Who wants to go to that?
Yeah, right.
And so
exactly.
You got the Gasparilla Bowl, you've got the Boca Raton Bowl, and there, you got the bowl over in Coastal Carolina, the Myrtle Beach Bowl.
Right. Yeah.
Look, make it. I guarantee you, teams would start. One, I think the teams would stop scheduling the patsies because going to a bowl used to mean something.
Right
now, you got players sitting out, you got coaches leaving, you've got and then your transfers and all of that. And I think they need to go back and I think they need to say, okay, here are the requirements. The top 20 are going to have a bowl.
Yeah,
and you're going to meet these requirements. You're going to sell out your stadium. You're going to sell out the advertising. The payout's going to be big, and we're going to get back to where a bowl game actually means something.
Yeah.
And instead, because I don't care what anybody says, who wants to go to the Gasparilla Bowl?
Yeah,
Now I understand if you haven't been to a bowl in 15 years. Tech went and they won, and I understand that, but you can't tell me that all those players were excited about it, and you can't blame them. You can't blame them because a lot of those kids want to go home, especially the freshmen and the young kids want to go home because they've been away from home for 6 months. And then the seniors are like, I'm trying to get ready for the NFL. So you got a handful of players that are really excited, which is fine, and I don't fault them for this, but make it worth something.
Yeah, you've got teams now that are opting out of bowl games, and you don't have enough teams to replace them, and so now you've got some 5 and 7 teams playing in some of these bowl games.
Well, and let me just say that, and you're exactly right. The teams that opted out last year should not be able to go to a bowl game for the next 2 or 3 years. If you opt out, then you're not going to be considered for a bowl game,
or whatever,
bowl eligible or whatever, because you stiffed us. And this is again, it goes back to being this is a privilege to be able to do this. Now, yes, there's 44 of them, and what's the privilege of going to the Frisco Bowl?
Yeah,
but you don't back out of a bowl game, and I think honestly that they should not be considered for a bowl for at least 1 year, if not maybe 2 years.
Yeah, there you go. Interesting take right here on the Morning Rant, this Friday edition of the program. What do you guys think? We want to hear from you. Again, our Jasper Coca-Cola text line is open, 866-888-0744. That's 866-888-0744. That's 0PIG, P-I-G. We did get a text from a Juan in Cartersville, and he said, hey, who are the top, and we'll try to answer this maybe after the break, but who are the top 3 players to ever play on an Atlanta sports team? So, again, we kind of going with our conversation earlier, and now Juan's asking us a question, and we'll try to have an answer for you right here. We'll try to come up with something off the top of our head here on the other side of this next break right here. And we appreciate you guys texting in. But, yeah, let us know your thoughts, again, on the college football, the bowl schedule. I agree. I think there's way too many bowls. I think we need to slim it back down. If you're going to use the bowls, use them as a stair step if you do expand the college field, playoff field, and they have started using some of the bowl games there. But again, no matter what, the landscape of college athletics is changing a lot, and now it's trickling over to basketball. Even with March Madness, man, don't mess with March Madness, right? Hey, they're messing with it, so hey, we'll see what happens right here. Hey, thanks for being with us right here. We're with you till the top of the hour. We're live at Ronnie Thompson Ford in Ellijay today, right here on 93.7 and 98.1, and also 101.1 on the HD2 dial. Again, visit us on our social media. The Morning Rant is on Instagram and also full video episodes on YouTube. You can also catch the podcast version of our show on our website, sportspigradio.com, and wherever you listen to your favorite daily podcast. Come on by and see us here at Ronnie Thompson Ford. Meet Big John Davis, the refrigerator mover. Again, we'll be here till 12 o'clock today. We'll be right back here on the home of ESPN Radio in North Georgia on the Sports Pig app and online at sportspigradio.com.
Financial scams are on the rise, and with AI, they're getting more and more sophisticated every day. If someone pressures you to act quickly, ask for secrecy, or request payment through gift cards, wire transfers, or cryptocurrency, stop. Legitimate financial professionals don't rush you or demand on usual payment methods. Before you send money or share personal information, slow down and verify. Protect your future. When in doubt, ask questions.
If you're suspicious of a scam, call the team at Foundation Wealth today at 706-278-0214.
We bring the heat. You bring the trash talk.
Come on, man. Are you serious?
It's the Morning Rant, live on the Sports Pig app and sportspigradio.com.
Back here on a Friday, chopping it up with my man Big John Davis. Dave Garner with you till 12 o'clock today as we go 2 hours right here on the Morning Rant. We always say this is the fastest 1 hour in sports talk radio, but today we're at 2 hours as we take you till 12 o'clock. We are live on location here at Ronnie Thompson Ford in Ellijay, home of the Quick Lane, and we appreciate the folks that have stopped by here today. We want to see you come on by. We'll be here for about another half hour or so. Check out the great deals that are currently going on here through Ford, the manufacturer deals and so forth. We'll try to may try to grab Heath or Chad here in a moment to be with us. We had a question that was posed to us before the break. Who are the top 3 players to ever play on an Atlanta sports team? Now, I'm assuming that they mean just top 3, maybe Atlanta professional athletes, whether they, no matter what team they played for. So, again, I mean, certainly one to me that stands out is an obvious one when you think about the Atlanta Hawks is Dominique Wilkins.
That was my first one came to mind, because he's definitely the top 3.
Maybe Hank Aaron, I'm thinking. I mean, that's kind of, I would say, and again, these are all just, kind of off the top of the head, but I would say Dominique, certainly, if you're talking Hawks. I would say now if we're doing top 3 for all 3 teams, I mean we might have to put a little bit more thought into that.
Well, and also the way I look at it, and people look at it differently, like the Mount Rushmore part of it. I look at longevity. I look at who's been with the team, stayed with the team, or even start to finish, or at least 10, 12 years or something like that. Right. Another one that would come to mind would be. Well, I'm old school. Like I go back to the Noter, Jeff Van Note and Tommy Nobis and those guys, Steve Barkowski, Billy White Shoes Johnson, which I completely, I forgot about. But then I go back to like Bob Horner, Dale Murphy, Eddie Matthews, Joe Torre. Oh yeah, some of those guys that played back in the '60s and '70s, were great baseball players. Dale Murphy. Everybody's like. Not to derail the conversation, but, everybody says, they think because I played football, my hero was a football player. My hero was actually Dale Murphy.
Oh, there we go.
I looked up to him, and I just thought the world of him and still do. And, I just remember going down there and watching him and, with him and Bob Horner and those guys. And, again, it goes back to just your thoughts go back to that time. But, Chipper Jones. Greg Maddox. I don't think I'll be honest with you. I'm still stunned at looking at his stats. The walks, how many 3-0 counts did he ever get to? Yeah, and it's just absolute. And just watching him pitch the ball and paint the corners of the way. I just don't think there's anybody. I just don't remember seeing anybody like that growing up. Like that was just as fine tuned as he was. Yeah, and you talk about a competitor. I mean, the guy looks like a what, and I'm sure he was when he got out on the mound. And, but just watching him paint the corners is just unbelievable.
He is my favorite Braves pitcher of all time, bar none. Greg, I love Matty. I mean, Greg Maddox was, obviously with Glavine and Smoltz and everybody too. I mean,
that was a great staff.
That was definitely iconic. And you think about some of the great players that have come through over the years, and it's a hard list to put together. I would say definitely a Hank Aaron, a Dominique Wilkins, from a Falcon standpoint, there's a lot of different directions you can go with Tommy Nobis. I was thinking about, you were thinking about Braves players and random Braves players. This is not a random Braves player by any means, but back in that Dale Murphy era, as you mentioned earlier, you had Chris Chambliss, you have Rafael Ramirez, Claudell Washington was another big one, out there in the outfield as well. I still think the worst trade of all time was the Braves trading away Brett Butler And also another player. There was another player I think that was part of that as well for Brooks Jacoby, the pitcher for the Cleveland Indians, who never worked out. He came here and just ended up kind of flaking out. But Brett Butler at that time was a 300 hitter. Yeah, and had really good glove. Played out there in the outfield, along with Murph and Claudel. And I always think about that trade as being one of the worst. Everybody always says the Brett Favre trade in Atlanta, but Brett Favre was a drunk when he was here. Right. I'm not sure that he was ever going to.
Well, that's not a bad thing, but
materialize here. I mean, yeah, exactly. But I mean, he didn't live up. He was in a different place.
Sure.
But he, when he went, it took him getting some mentorship, I think, from Mike Holmgren or whatever when he went to Green Bay, kind of turn things around.
Well,
but,
he needed Green Bay more than they needed him. You're exactly right. It was a great fit for him. He didn't need to be in the big city.
Right.
Too much.
And I love Brett Favre.
Yeah.
I went to Southern Miss.
Yeah, I'm a huge fan.
Yeah.
But he's, but look what he did. They're always going to go blame Jerry Glanville, which I would blame Jerry for a lot of stuff. I'd blame him just for even coming to Atlanta.
Yeah, I was going to say,
get on his bad side. But yeah, Brett. Brett. Obviously, we've seen what he's done, and and then your short stints, Dion. I mean, Dion's about as electrified player that you've ever seen. I've got many stories about him, and you just got there's just it's so hard to pinpoint. I'm of the belief that I like to do it in decades. I like to because Joe Montana is a hell of a quarterback, but to compare him to Tom, it's the systems were completely different. Look, Tom won Super Bowls, but he's got to also remember his kicker won 3 of them.
Yeah, right.
Now I'm not saying Tom didn't get him in position, but I'm saying that his kicker had something to do with it.
Right,
and also. What I look at that a lot of people might not look at is Tom did a lot of dinking and dunking. He was never really a huge down the field throw guy, but when you've got those slot backs like he had Edelman and I think there was one other I can't remember the name of, but when he's doing a 5-yard cross across the field and you throw it and then 5 yards turns into 25, well that'll make any quarterback look great.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
But I'm not taking that away from Tom, but you can't compare the two. You can't compare.
It's not apples to apples.
No,
really.
You can't compare Jim and Joe or Jim Kelly and Dan Marino. 2 different systems. They looked at the game a whole lot differently. Dana or John Elway again. Troy Aikman. He's a different type of quarterback. Look at the cast that Troy Aikman had.
Yeah.
I mean, there wasn't one drop off in that period.
Right.
And Jimmy Johnson did a great job of recruiting and bringing those athletes in and stuff. Steve Young's another one. So, I like to look at it at decades. And I'm glad that they do come out with the all-decades team because they rightfully deserve that. But to go and compare a 2015 to a 1975, just don't do it. John Madden was a lot different coach than Bill Walsh was.
Right. Oh, yeah.
So it's just that, and the coaches today are so much more innovated, and Bill Walsh was the master innovator, bringing the West Coast offense.
You're right.
And a lot of people pick that up. And today, if the West Coast offense is run the way it's supposed to be run, you can't beat them.
Right.
You just can't beat that type of offense. With our offense, we had the K gun, and we were always, we were running and, fast paced and no huddle offense and stuff like that. If you've got a great team like Denver had when they can move Steve Atwater from strong safety to linebacker, then they've solved the problem because those were our hardest games.
Right.
Every team couldn't do that because every team didn't have Steve Atwater.
Didn't have the personnel.
But you could stop us. The Giants did it in the Super Bowl 25. Now we played them 6 weeks earlier in the Meadowlands and beat them pretty bad.
Yeah.
But they figured it out, and they figured out what they needed to do, and they did just enough. The first thing he says, we're not going to give Buffalo the ball. We're going to keep the ball, and we're not going to – and sure enough, we didn't have the ball there. I think time-wise was like 45 minutes we were off of the field from second quarter to third quarter. So yeah, I'm more of the decades part because the innovation and the coaching and the players, the health of the players, the size of the players have gotten so much bigger that it's just not fair to go back and forth like that.
Well,
and I know they'd love to, because that's just something to throw up there.
Sure.
And it's like the Mount Rushmore thing. I'm more of a longevity guy than I am. And look, there's no bigger fan of Deion than me.
Yeah,
but I'm not going to say he's one of the all-time greats.
Yeah,
just
top
because
three, of Atlanta of all time. Maybe a little bit different there. And the other part of that too is the dynamic of the quarterback position has also changed so much over the decades as well. So, to your point, Joe Montana to Patrick Mahomes, that's not an apples-to-apples kind of comparison. You could look at numbers only, but you got to look at style and so forth. I always joked around, and I'm not taking anything away from Emmitt Smith, but, I think I could have been a 1,000-yard rusher behind that offensive line.
Yeah,
because there wasn't a whole lot of juking he really had to do. If you look at a lot of his highlights, he's just getting the ball and running straight through a hole. He's not like Barry Sanders, where he had to pretty much do everything on his own.
Exactly. Yeah, no, that's two perfect examples right there, Barry Sanders and Emmitt Smith. And no, you're exactly right. And that's when Dallas came out with the huge offensive line, and that's what they did, and that's what Jimmy Johnson wanted to do. And Washington kind of started it in the '80s, but they were 2 or 3 years behind. They had some big 6'5", 6'6", 6'7" guys, but Dallas had those kids that were that they probably averaged 330, 340 across the front.
Yeah,
and you're right. Emmett, he didn't get touched until he got to the second level.
Right. So a little bit easier to run the ball in those situations. Not taking anything away. Emmitt Smith was a great back. I'm just not a Cowboys fan, so it's hard for me to admit that about anybody that played for the Cowboys there at all. But again, nonetheless, when you're looking at the comparisons, it's definitely a lot different. But thank you, Juan, again from Cartersville, texting in right here on our Jasper Coca-Cola text line with some good discussion right here today on the Friday edition of the Morning Rant. Again, our Jasper Coca-Cola text line, as always, 866-888-0744. Again, that's 866-888-0744. That's a 0PIG, P-I-G. You can still read the digits on your phones there nowadays. Even if you have a smartphone, they still have the letters on there. So,
exactly.
That's how you used to remember numbers way back in the day. So they still do that. Hey, thank you for joining us right here on this Friday edition of the program. We are live here at Ronnie Thompson Ford in Ellijay. Come by and see us. We just had a young lady come by the table a moment ago, but we were on the air, so I think we probably scared her away. Maybe she'll come back. We'll say hey to her. But we appreciate you guys being with us. We're going to take one final time out, and when we come back, it'll be the final segment of the show. We'll have some closing thoughts and some more discussion right here as we continue to bring it to you on a gorgeous Friday here in Ellijay. Thank you to our producer, Aaron Childers, the man behind the curtain back at our Carriage Kia studios today, pushing all the buttons and keeping us on the air today. We appreciate him. We'll be right back here on the home of ESPN Radio in North Georgia. That's the Sports Pig app and online at sportspigradio.com.
Welcome to your hometown pub. Open 7 days a week, the pub in Ellijay is your happy hour hangout. They offer a variety of dishes to satisfy every palate, and their friendly staff is here to ensure a wonderful time. Join them for daily happy hour specials Monday through Thursday. And don't forget, every Wednesday is Wing Wednesday with $1 wings all day long. Located at 941 Maddox Drive in East Ellijay. Open Sunday through Wednesday till midnight, Thursday through Saturday till 2 a.m. The pub in Ellijay, where every visit feels like home.
Morning Grind with Pork Rinds.
Welcome to the show.
It's the Morning Rant, weekday mornings from 10 to 11 on 98.1, 93.7, and 101.1 on the H2 dial. WPGY, the Sports Pig.
Final segment of the program here today. My voice is cracking and everything. I was running around trying to fix our feather flag out by the road there, and I was trying to get that sucker in the ground's gotten hard out here, though, now. So, again, had a little bit of trouble there as we run back to the seat. Hey, thanks for being with us right here on this Happy Hour Friday edition of the show, presented by your friends at Bradley's Bar and Grill off the Lower Roswell Road at East Cobb, We'll be there next Friday, and we're certainly looking forward to that. I'm in here with my man Big John Davis. Davis chopping it up as we wrap things up here in the final segment of the program today. We are here live at Ronnie Thompson Ford in Ellijay. Appreciate you guys listening, and thank you to those that have stopped by and said hello. We had a gentleman that worked here before we came on the air today that was really starstruck, man. I mean, you were his motivating factor growing up. Grew up as a Bills fan, moved to the area several years ago. He's not from here, but had some scholarship offers before an unfortunate injury. But man, he was starstruck. He had to get his picture with you.
It's always great to see fans. Always great to come back home.
And, and again, a lot of folks, as we mentioned, have stopped by here. I popped my head in the door a second ago, talked to the sales manager here, Chad Jones. He's covered up. He's got a million things going on. I think Heath had to take off and go somewhere as well. So they are busy here today, man. They've been replacing signs that people have plowed over in the middle of the night. They've had all kinds of different things going on here today. But these guys are hopping over here at Ronnie Thompson Ford. Come on over here and get them even busier as we get set to wrap up the show. One of the things we talked about, and I know you want to talk about it, we mentioned it was like player health in the NFL. We mentioned earlier in the week about the referees and different things with the unions going on there, NFL looking at replacement refs and so forth. A lot of things, of course, going on in the NFL with the streaming platforms, with all those different, discussions that we've had over the first 2 months of this program right here. But I was asking you a little bit about, being a former player, how the league is kind of taking care of you guys, and I know you've got some notes about that.
Yeah, well, one of the things that I usually we get letters from our NFL retired players, not union, but the organization. And 2015, and I'm going to read it a little bit. 2015, they reached a landmark concussion class action settlement. We all know what CTE is and the players and the effects that it's having on everybody, even down to younger kids in high school. But they came to a settlement in 2015, and finally, 10 years later, they were hoping it's a 65-year deal with no financial limits, and they were thinking that the cost to the owners were going to be less than $1 billion with a B dollars. Right now, it's already reached $1.6 billion committed to the NFL. 2,163 financial awards to the NFL alumni and their families. Now, the reason why I say that is that we have a plan that is out there that was started years ago, and it's called the 88 plan. And those are for that's exactly what this is for right here, is that when we get older, like I'm going to say about 6 or 7 years ago, I went to see a neurologist, and I went through about 3 hours of testing. They did everything from top to bottom to see exactly where I was mentally, and thankfully she looked at me and she says, we can end this right now because you're good. And I said, well, and I was wanting to, but we went ahead and did the whole test. So what that does is that gives me a benchmark. So if I go to a neurologist, say in June, and they see some slippage in my mental capacity, then this 88 plan starts to kick in to where I can now utilize their resources to whether it's dementia, whether it's Parkinson's, whether it's something like that. And normally right now, unfortunately, I've got players that I've played with that that have dementia, the early stages, and so it's nice to see that this is finally coming out, and so the NFL is doing something about it. Unfortunately, you got to take them to court before that happens. But so it's and that's part of the strikes that we went in. Not only in 1987, but the one that we almost had in 1993 that we settled before we got into the season. So they are committing it. We get updated versions of it just about once a quarter. How much money they're paying out. They're telling us. They don't give us names, but they give us the percentages of dementia. They give us the percentages of Parkinson's disease, and some of the other stuff. So that gives Hester a peace of mind knowing that, and I'll say this, a good friend of mine at Georgia Tech, and I told you earlier, Larry Morris, who Bobby Dodd said was the greatest, football player to ever play at Tech. Unfortunately, he had a long career. It was with the Cardinals is who it was with, and had a long career in football, but later in life he got dementia. and his wife wanted to keep him home. Well, Larry had a successful career in business, and they went through all his money, for her. And you can understand that the wife wants to keep, their loved ones at home.
Absolutely.
But so this 88 plan went back and made her whole.
Right.
And so that was the whole purpose of us going on strike, was to make sure that these pre-49ers, pre-59ers were going to get taken care of, because that's who we're seeing now are having these issues. And so it's nice to get an email from them, covering this. And it's funny because there's one in here I was telling you about, a $140 million verdict for a player that didn't even play in the NFL. He played at SMU, and now it's being litigated. And he played back in the 1950s and died in 2001 after suffering Alzheimer's for years.
Right.
And so, but now you're starting to see even the college players file lawsuits and stuff of losing their mind, obviously, and then so it's good, and the NCAA is going to have to do something about it, because I mean, Brian Bosworth didn't have that long of an NFL career, and he's slipping, and so it's just, you hate to see the players that you played with go through this, but it's comforting to know that they're going to be taken care of, not only medically but financially. And this is not money that's just given to you. I mean, we earned it. We've earned this, the right to have some dignity when we get older, if something like that were to happen.
Absolutely, yeah. That's great to have those things in place, for as much as sometimes we like to look at things and kind of criticize, the way things are done and handled. I think a lot of it, though, is coming from the player association and so forth, kind of putting that pressure, on the league to continue those things, to do those sorts of things, and especially with all of the CTE stuff that's coming out and this, that, and the other, I think there's going to be even more pressure on the league. And to your point, even at the collegiate level, at the NCAA level, to try to put some things in place to safeguard.
Well, and we've also decided, like, something happens to me, they're going to send my brain up to Harvard, because they do all the studies, and that's the least I can do. Even if nothing ever happens to me, they still can learn from you and see, even pre signs of what's going on. So, and to go to one more thing that's not health related, we've been in court, Dave, for probably 12 or 13 years over what they're calling now name, image, and likeness, because of John Madden and Madden Sports.
Yeah.
Excuse me. They went out and used our, so you go to Tecmo Bowl and you go to some of those Madden Sports, they look like, I've never played it before, but somebody said, John, it looks exactly like you. It's got your name on the back, the number, your mustache, and all of that. Well, as soon as we filed a lawsuit, they went in, took my mustache off, took the name off of the back of my, and they're like, dude, it's still John Davis. We know who it is. And because they didn't want it, because you talk about $1 billion industry.
Oh, yeah.
And we're not, now look, I'm not going to sit here and say I'm not getting greedy, but there is a point in time that if you're going to use my name, image, and likeness, I deserve to get paid for it.
Right.
And a lot of players, and let me tell you something, Tom Brady's the same way, Brett Favre's the same way, all these guys are the same. You're making billions of dollars off of my image. Yeah, give us a little bit, and it's still in courts. It is.
It's still,
and I hope the next generation enjoys it, because I don't think we'll ever see it.
Right? Yeah. Well, and they finally brought back, after all these years, they brought back the college NCAA college football video game, and they were able to work out some things there. And with NIL, that was the biggest thing is the players and this, that, and the other. But now that the NIL is around, it's allowed the video game companies to kind of come back around as well. But to your point, I'd like to see the updated version of the John Davis player. I wonder if he has a long beard now and everything.
The senior version.
You would definitely be entitled to some money right there, with that likeness. Hey, we're having fun here today at Ellijay, at Ronnie Thompson Ford here off of Kusawani Drive in Ellijay. We'll be here for a few more minutes as we get set to wrap up the second hour of the program. We're going to hand you back over to Chuck Oliver with Southern Sports Today. today at the top of the hour, and we'll get into the second hour of the Chuck Oliver Southern Sports Today show. Again, he is the king of college football with some news and notes. We've been doing our own version today of Chuck Oliver to a certain extent with NIL talk, with college sports, and so forth here right up against the top of the hour. Hey, thank you guys for being with us. Once again, our social media, as always, Sports Pig is on Facebook. Again, check us out there. Also, the Morning Rant Hour program is on Instagram with clips. You can also watch full video episodes of the show on YouTube, the podcast version of the show on our website. That's sportspigradio.com, and wherever you listen to your favorite daily podcast, again, on both Apple and Android platforms, including Spotify, Podbean, really all over the place. Of course, we're also on Twitter. I'm at Dave Garner 777. He's at John Davis _65. And this is the Friday Happy Hour edition of the Morning Rant, presented by your friends at Bradley's Bar and Grill. Once again, we will be there next Friday from 10 a.m. until 1 p.m. on the air live. But we do encourage you to come out in person if you are around the East Cobb area. If you're going to be passing through Atlanta or what have you, stop on by, see us. We're basically going to have kind of not only a radio show, but also kind of a live event show as well. I mean, there will be people there. It's brunch and lunch, Bradley's Bar and Grill. They'll be serving a brunch and a lunch. As you mentioned, John, cocktails, I mean, 50-cent wings, yep. I mean, all kinds of stuff.
All of that. Bloody Mary's one of the best menus, lunch menus around East Cobb. And, come on out and see us and ask us questions and heckle us if you want to, and enjoy the day and get your weekend started off the right way.
There you go. Speaking of the weekend, NASCAR this weekend, they're going road racing. They're at the Glen. Again, Caden Honeycutt right now leading our local boy, Chandler Smith, in the truck series right now. Again, Chandler slipping to second, but still very much alive in the championship hunt. Still a long way to go this year in the Craftsman Truck Series. Tyler Reddick still with a pretty comfortable lead at the Cup Series. They'll go road racing this weekend, and you can hear that again right here on the Sports Pig. We are your home for Cup racing, NASCAR here on Sports Pig Radio and on the app as well. Also, the Atlanta Braves again tonight open up that 3-game set against the Dodgers. You can also hear Braves baseball as the new North Georgia home of Atlanta Braves baseball right here on WPGY, the Sports Pig. Again, NBA, NHL playoffs as well, alive and well right now. We talked about the NHL playoffs a little bit earlier. Right now, again, OKC leading the Lakers 2-0 in that series. T-Wolves Spurs tied at 1 apiece. The Pistons finally got their groove back. They nearly got eliminated in the first round against Orlando. They come back, though. They win the series, and they're already up 2-0 now on the Cavs. The Knicks also leading the Sixers 2-0. New York looking really good right now as the NBA playoffs continue into the weekend. Next week right here on the program, again, we're going to have a lot of different features for you. We're going to hear from different folks, plus our usual cast of characters. Again, John will join me back on Monday as we dive into the weekend there and take a look at everything that happened. But in the meantime, we hope you guys have a great weekend. John, as always, thanks for bringing it right here on this Friday edition of the program, man. Always good working with you.
Always a pleasure, Dave. Great to be here.
Sounds good. Again, live here at Ronnie, Thompson, Ford, and Ellijay as we wrap up our 2-hour Friday edition of the program here today. Thanks for being with us. Once again, a big weekend coming up, and we appreciate you guys as always. Pickleball, you name it, man. We dove into a lot of different stuff here today. We kind of spread it all around the dial. That's what we like to do here, touch on a lot of different things to keep your interest. And we appreciate Heath Thompson, Chad Jones, and all the folks here at Ronnie Thompson Ford for having us out here on the out on their grounds today, right outside their front door, broadcasting live here over the last 2 hours. Hope you guys have a great weekend. We'll see you on Monday. You've been listening to the Morning Rant. As we always say, if you don't know, you better ask somebody. We'll see you Monday right here on the program. Thanks for joining us on the home of ESPN Radio in North Georgia. That's the Sports Pig app and online at sportspigradio.com.
Tired of shouting your business's name into the void and getting nothing but crickets? Your brand deserves more than awkward billboard glances and flyers lining bird cages. Right now, listeners are hearing me ramble on instead of your ad. That's a touchdown for missed opportunities and a fumble for your wallet.
Recovered, Atlanta, game over.
Your ad could be here, making fans laugh, cheer, and most importantly, call you. Go to sportspigradio.com or call 678-454-9552 and get your business off the bench and into the game.